Okay, so now a game against Branko
Damljanovic. Well, he was a Yugoslav grandmaster, very dangerous tactically. And here we have an English opening, very well-known variation. Played in a lot of games. I played also with white, with black, more with black, but sometimes I played with white also, It was very popular. At the highest level, everybody tried this, Kasparov, Karpov, everybody, Korchinoi and so on. So, okay, bishop g2, bishop b7, everything is theory, castle. So now a6, b3, d6, bishop b2, bishop e7, d4, I took in d4, and now, a small surprise, he took with the knight. It's better to take with the queen. After the queen takes d4, it's very sharp, and it's not clear who is better, At the first look like this, black is a little bit worse because white has more space, but it's very complicated game. I played a lot of black, and I lost a lot of games against Brown and many others, with black, Adorian, and I played with Korchinoi 3 or 4 times, and I never lost with black. So it seems that Polugaevsky and so on, the highest level like this. I mean, the black position is okay because if you look, the black position is almost like a Sicilian. The only difference is the pawn is in b6 instead of b5. And if it was in b5, we had the position from Najdorf. Mm-hmm. It's almost more or less the same like Sicilian. That means it's okay for black. So I took in g2, he took, and now the position is more or less even, But after e4, you have to put the knight in c6, not in d7. If you put the knight in d7, it's a little bit better for white, because he has more space. After knight c6, the game is even, So, he took now in c6, I took with the queen, queen e2, and castle. And after castle, he played a4, because if he didn't play a4 immediately, black already had the possibility to play himself b5, B5. And it equalizes immediately for black without any problem. So after a4, it's very difficult to play later on b5, but black, tries to defend himself, put the pieces on the best position, and wait. And we see what happens later on. In any endgame, black finally is a little bit better. But until the endgame, you have to be careful because white has a little bit more space and some chances to attack. So he tries to attack very quickly with a pawn, you see.
Now, wasn't better to move this king out of the pin?
Yeah, of course. It was the alternative. Or it was another possibility to play f3, quiet, yes. Waiting. But it was an open tournament. Everybody tried to play for a win, with white, with black, so you have to try, you see. Yes, so he tried, okay, he played f4, rook c8, and finally he played knight king h3, and after the game, I had the small surprise to find out that it was a move, king h3, everything until here, yes. In that time was theory, and that move was recommended by Korchinoi, so highest level again, Mm-hmm. So it had to be good. If you continue to play Korchinoi, you have some respect. It's okay.
It looks good because you are out of the pin at least.
Yeah, it's out of the pin, but in h3 the king is a little bit strange, Yeah. Later on we'll see why, you see. We can demonstrate later on with black why the king in h3 is not in the best position, So knight d7, black. Rook d1, of course, and now knight c5. Until now everything is all right. Black has to be very careful, on the big diagonal after queen g4 later on, you see, because there are some threats, tactical threats, but nothing happens for the moment, you see. Okay, so queen g4, and now after bishop f6, the position is very sharp, and white has to try something very quickly, because otherwise he has some problems, Finally, first of all, if we have time to put another rook in d8, we try to take immediately the pawn from e4, and this is winning for black, of course, if you can win the pawn. But move order is very important. So now, from this moment, it's very tactical, we'll see. So, okay, after bishop f6, he played b4, and it was surprising that here, after b4, which is very sharp and very unclear, he proposed draw. Okay, okay, I played knight d7 because I played for win also. And after knight d7, he's forced to do something again. He found again the best move, c5. And now, again, you have to be very careful because you can go wrong immediately. If you take with the pawn from b6, after b5, you have some problem, big problem even. Because now, if you take in b5, a takes b5, queen b6, e5, and probably white is winning. It's a very strong attack. This was the idea of king h3, you see, because he avoids the check from b7, and the king is far away, is all right, and now you have problems with black, you see. Now, if you can't take in e5, you go back with the bishop, he takes immediately in d6, the pawn from d6 is very strong, and you can't take back because of knight e4, and probably you have almost lost position with black, you see, here. So you have to be careful, but now after c5, you take with the other pawn, with d, and now he's all right. Now b5, of course. Now I took in b5, he took in b5, and I played queen b7 on the big diagonal like this. Again, you have to be careful. And here, of course, e5 has to continue. So bishop e7 and f5. The last hope to open completely the game. Now you have to defend very calmly with black, and I took in e5, of course. He played queen f4, and now after queen f4, f6. After this move, you give back the pawn from e6, but with such a knight in e5, he has no attacking chances anymore, and black is taking completely the initiative and can launch the counter attack, which, as always in Sicilian, will be decisive, I would say. So, okay, so knight e4, I took in e5. f5, pardon, he took back with the queen, and now bishop f8. We see the result. Black won material. White has nothing for the moment. He has some small initiative, but it's not enough, of course, no? And everything is possible because of this very strong knight from e5, which, defends everything. So, all right, so from now on, he has to move here and there, big time trouble for white. Of course, if you play well with black, you must win, of course. So now, simply rook c7, very strong move again, because now we defend everything again, 7th rank and so, and we threaten to play queen c8. Without queen, the position is completely winning, because now we have the possibility to push the pawn later on, c4, you see. So now, he played g4, queen c8 anyway. He took.
He accepted.
Well, he has to, because if he goes back with the queen in h4, for instance, yes. After h5 he's even worse, It's terrible for white, So now it's clear. White is lost, and we continue the game because we have to have 40 moves, in the time control, yes. Time control. So bishop c3, knight f3, the decisive move. So now, knight d4, yeah. Well, I could take in e4, wins also, but knight d4 is even better because everything is forced. He has to take in d4 because otherwise he loses also the pawn from b5, So he took in d4, I took with the rook, and now he blundered. He played bishop c3, rook e3 check, and he resigned. But if he played a little bit better, bishop b2, bishop b2 now.
Yes.
After rook b4 is clear. Rook b4, he loses again the pawn from b5, and the two passed pawns, c4 and c5 and b6 wins by force,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was clearly a demonstration what can happen, if white, goes wrong a little bit, I mean, he wanted a little bit too much. The position was more or less balanced like this, but he forced a little bit too much, and it was like a boomerang, later on, you see. Counter-attack for black, like in any Sicilian, and we can succeed finally, you know. Black wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good demonstration, you see. But you have to play, as I told you, you know, defend very well the position, you know, finally find always the best continuations and so on. And when you have winning position, try to
Finish.
win. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.